Hi everyone! Today we're going to paint a little illustration for Valentine's Day. So let's begin. I did a little pencil sketch first to help me, but you can do without it if you want. We will start by wetting our paper. Be careful to have a special watercolor paper or sketchbook like mine. For the painting, I will use a size 6 round brush, but you can take the one that suits you. So at first I will wet my brush. Almost all the drawing will be in pink shades. So to mix the first pink, I use magenta, red and white. To achieve different shades of pink, from light pink to deeper rose, you can just adjust red. So for cooler pink, you can use a magenta-based red, and for warmer pink, use a cadmium red. To make the balloons, I start by filling them with my pink, mixed with some water. While the paint is still wet, I will take some red and tap with my brush on the corners of the balloon. You can vary the tones of pink by adding more water for a lighter result. Now I'm going to mix a little darker pink by adding more magenta, and I'm starting to paint the little details. It's pretty much the same technique for the small balloons and the small flowers. You can try to play with the shadows and tones of pink for a deeper and prettier result. And just be very careful not to have a brush that is too soaked with water. Now I add a little bit of purple to my pink and I can start painting the gift. Depending on the gift, I vary the tone of the pink by adding more purple, red, or just more water. It's okay if at first it doesn't really look good. As you can see it on the video, we can rework the details once this part of the paper are dry. Now I'm going to mix my pink with some cadmium yellow and some brown. As for the balloons, we start with the lightest. Then, without waiting for the paper to dry, I will take a brown color and make the shadows. So for the front of our truck, I will mix light pink by adding more white and water. And I just do as before. I start with my light pink and then I do the shadows with a darker pink based on magenta and a little of purple. If you don't have purple in your palette, you can just mix red and ultramarine blue. It's usually the basic dark blue and you get purple. I will use a darker purple to draw the lines of the track, but the most important thing here is not to have a brush that is too wet. I advise you to use a paper towel just to remove the excess of water. Now I will be using green. If you don't have a green that matches, you can mix blue and yellow. Depending on how much blue or yellow you use, you can create different shades of green, like a lime green with more yellow or a deeper forest green. with more blue. So I first use a light green and then add blue to get a darker color and use it to give more shadows to the flowers. To paint the wheels, I will use ultramarine deep blue with a little bit of paint gray, which is a dark blue gray color. If you don't have it, it's okay. You can add a tiny bit of black and some water to your blue color. I'm going to make the outline of the wheels darker than the middle so I can add details later. And then the space between the truck and the wheels will be the darkest of all. To vary the tones of gray, I play a little bit with water, so I add more if I want light gray, and I use an almost dry brush for a darker result. With the dark gray blue, you can also add some shadows at the bottom of the wheels. I will also use the same dark color to make the details of the truck, the steering wheel, or the balloons. And now you can of course use your imagination and add little details to your truck, like little red hearts or some flowers, for example. Make sure that your paper is dry, and now that the first layer of watercolor is dry, we can start adding some shadows on the track. For this, you can use the same pink that we mixed for the balloons, and you can feel free to add any details or any shadows you think are necessary. To paint the shadow of the truck, you can use the same blue-gray color as before, but only with a lot of water. After the drawing is completely dry, I use a waterproof black pen to trace the lines of the drawing with more precision. This is an optional step, and if you want, you can just skip this part. The pen I use is quite thin, but you can take the one you like. So as you can see, with the pen I'm basically just going to trace the outline of my illustration and add more depth to the darker parts. So the final step is to add some light to the drawing using white gouache. I use a slightly finer brush and add to the gouache some water. You can of course keep the same brush if you want, but be careful not to make too big lines. If you have a white pen, for example, that works well too. So that's basically it for this painting, and I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did. Here is your little illustration for Valentine's Day in watercolor. This is my very first video, so if you have any advice to give me, don't hesitate to write a comment. Hope you liked it and hope to see you soon.